Alright, so the goal of today's talk was to talk about motivation. I'm more going to talk about just what personally worked for me and kind of my weight loss journey. It's not just, for me it wasn't just like the weight loss, it's about what happens when you hit that kind of short-term goal. What do you do then? So for me, in my journey, I lost 100 pounds over a period of like 2.5, 3 years. And then after that, it was actually hard to maintain. Like I tried to keep it as healthy as possible, but a lot of my goals were very short-term focused. The problem with having, for me, a specific kind of weight or BMI goal is once you hit that goal, you tend to lose motivation. And it's tough to have your goals kind of inextricably tied to your motivation. So that's what I found really worked for me. I have a lot of things that motivate me, but unless I had very specific goals, that motivation wouldn't really carry through into everyday action. So,
what made you want to do that initial 100 pounds thing though? Was it health reasons?
Yeah, it was mostly kind of a wake-up call. I had gone to a doctor my senior year of college after not really going to the doctor very much. So I went to Baden over here at Stanford, and they did like the weight height check thing, and my doctor was like, you fall into the obese category. And I had never like heard that like term.
Clinically told.
Yeah, I was clinically obese at that point.
Do you have any before pictures?
Yes, I do.
Do we get to see those?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I would be like,
Yeah. No, I can
it's
show
so
you the
hard for
classical
me
one
to
on my
think
Facebook.
about you being 100 pounds more. You know, like
Yeah.
I can't even.
I can't fathom it.
Yeah, I look at it and I'm like, really?
Yeah, it's
Where?
tough. It's tough, like looking back at like old pictures. I mean, it's funny. I've been talking to my brother a lot, who's he was just finishing up school and he just graduated, and he's having issues with weight also, and he's going through like a similar thing where he's like, I look at you now and he saw me when I weighed a bunch, and he's like, I don't even see like the person you were before. And it's not just in the weight, it's like how I carry myself, and like it's just like you're a completely different person. So,
Yeah.
It's your whole lifestyle's changed.
yeah, like everything changed. So,
Oh my goodness, yeah.
but yeah, it's really tough. So the obese thing was kind of a wake up call, and you know, it's not like I hadn't heard it before. My parents, I think, were really concerned about my weight and everything. But one thing I found is the motivation has to come from within. It's not enough to hear, oh, you need to lose weight, or oh, you need to quit smoking, or those things. Like, you have to want it for yourself. And it's really hard to get to that point, really, to like want it for yourself. And that's something that my brother has finally gotten to that point. Now that he's out of school, now that he's like worried about his health and his longevity, and he's thinking about jobs and stuff, he's hitting that point. That's really great that now he cares about it, because my parents were harping on him too. So, and the most important thing is motivation has to come from within. So, you can't really force somebody to be motivated to lose weight or eat healthy unless they have a good reason for it. So I started off, it was about the obesity, but it was also about finding a girlfriend. So when I graduated college, I didn't really date anybody throughout college, and that was kind of my short-term goal. And what happened was I started off around like 280 pounds, and I went down to about 240, and I got a girlfriend, and then like my weight loss stagnated for that.
Full achieved.
It's the dating game.
Yeah, but it was like my first girlfriend in a long time. We dated for 9 months, and it was sorry, my wife's here now. But you know, it was
We
a
obviously
learning
leveled up.
experience after obviously no, very clearly. Anyway, but during that 9-month period, like it didn't really make any progress personally in like my weight loss or health related goals, and I was kind of stagnant. And it was interesting coming out of that relationship, thinking about like, well, I don't want to be somebody whose health and happiness is dependent on needing somebody else or like wanting something else, or like having it be something within like the end. So even though I had a long-term goal of getting a girlfriend, like it's something that ends, and it's not something that is maintainable through one's whole life. Like, at some point, you're going to lose the 5 pounds you want to lose, or you're going to you know, hit your weight loss goal or hit your health goal, and then it's all about maintaining, and that gets really tough if you're lacking that kind of long-term motivation. So what I did after that was thinking a lot more about like, okay, what are my health goals besides just losing weight? And then particularly when I lost all the weight and had trouble keeping it, I started thinking more about, well, what do I want in life? What's like my personal health-related mission statement? And spent a lot of time reading and thinking about it. And one thing for me that was really valuable is family. Like, we want to have kids. I've always wanted to have kids, and for me, it's really important that I be very physically fit with my kids. One thing I didn't
Be able to keep
have,
up with them.
yeah, one thing I didn't have as much like growing up was a strong like health like parental figure to look to. Like, not that my parents were like severely overweight or anything, but they weren't like really active. My dad worked a lot. My mom was busy taking care of 3 kids, and it was both healthy eating and exercise were just kind of like secondary. So for me, it's like, well, I want to be in a healthy enough state that when I get older, it's not just like leading by example, but the kids almost have no choice but to like be healthy. Like, I'll be out and about doing things, and I want them to like see me as an example, like come with me on runs when they're old enough for like sit in the stroller or something. Like, that's kind of my new long-term goal.
Little Revos.
Yeah.
Plus, it's California, it's not St. Louis.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Very different from the Midwest. Yeah, it's much different out here. So looking for those types of long-term goals and just long-term health. Like, my parents have high blood pressure, so one thing that I'm like very conscious of is just like watching my blood pressure. And besides just weight, it's easy for me to go to the doctor and check how I'm doing on that. Like, it's just something very easy to look to besides just weight-based goals, because that's something that, you know, is pretty pervasive. And then setting short-term goals. So it's nice to have these long-term goals, but there's nothing really to motivate you in the short term necessarily. Like, I don't have kids now, so I don't have to worry about it. But I know that that's off in the distance, so I spend a lot of time setting short-term goals around running a 5K and like trying to be aggressive about like setting times that like I want to hit, or whether it's teaching runners downstairs. Like, that was something that was just like a goal for me, and it was something that I kind of pushed myself to do, and I'm a better person for it. Like, it helped me be a better speaker, hopefully. It allowed me to kind of carries over into my professional life as well, but also just like trying to be more. So one of my short-term goals, personally, is trying to be like an example for other people, whether it be teaching or talking to folks, helping my brother with his own like personal weight loss journey. It's really interesting because I find myself, it's kind of like that short-term pressure that not anxiety, but I'm motivated to work out and be a better person for my brother, for you guys. Like, when it's just those easy decisions that you make every single day, and it just becomes so much easier to say like, well, I want to be an example for other people, so I'm going to eat healthier. And right now it's sort of like, hopefully being an example for you guys, and then when I have kids, being an example for them. That's a huge motivator for me. Not only that, but like finding examples to look to. So having a health or fitness mentor. So if you can be an example to somebody else, like, that's great. But also having like somebody that you can look to. So when I first kind of started my journey, there was somebody who was on a triathlon team at Stanford, and I talked to him a ton about like cycling and everything, and I learned everything there was to know about cycling from him, and he was like super great, and was just like, I don't know, he was the guy I wanted to be, and I was something to like look forward to, just like a really well balanced life. So that was a great motivator for me personally. Just a little bit about like long-term and short-term. People have like similar goals that they have right now. Yeah.
What was one of the milestones, like when you started working out, that you felt like, yes? I mean, was it, and were you more impatient as you started losing weight, or did it feel so good, say after you lost 20 pounds, where you were feeling so slim? I mean, how was it for you?
Yeah, it's not like, it's funny, the things that are extra rewarding are not milestones you would necessarily like count on. So I would say like the 2 big ones is like I graduated college pretty overweight, and then I went back for like an alumni event for the acapella group that I directed, and people didn't recognize me. And it was like,
Which
that was the
acapella
best
group
feeling.
did you direct?
Everyday People.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's good. I hope there's something. Yeah, no, it's funny. Like I went back and there was this guy who I directed, and I sang tenor with him, and we went on tour together. And he's like, "Hi, I'm Talai." Like, "Hi, I'm Shane." And then like just having people be surprised, like that was great. Just like seeing people I hadn't seen in a long time. Seeing happened to my high school friends, like even though they saw me when I lived less than when I graduated college, like they didn't recognize me. I'm in better shape now than I was before I started high school. So that's one thing. And then there are other things. I was actually talking with Jen about this after our talk last week. For me, I started off really overweight, and there were things that I couldn't do before. Like I got a bike with a carbon fiber stem, and I had to switch it out for a different stem because I was too heavy for that carbon fiber stem. If you go skydiving and you want to do tandem skydiving, there's a weight limit of 225 pounds that I learned about when I tried to go skydiving with a friend. Horseback riding. It's 2:30. She went horseback riding. Anyway, she went horseback riding. I just don't like horseback riding, but it just precludes you from doing some things. And I realized a couple years ago, a friend asked me to go skydiving. I didn't want to anymore, but I was like, I could if I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's just there are things like that that for me, like in my own personal weight loss journey, that was incredibly rewarding. But a lot of it's just like people noticing. It may not be people you see every day here at the gym, but it might be somebody else who notices like you look better, you look more confident. It doesn't even have to be about weight loss. It can just be about how you carry yourself. That for me was good. That was not a milestone I planned, but it was awesome. Let's see. So I have been talking with my brother and a couple of friends about very short-term things. So for me, I've been trying to set goals around running a 5K, which I did a couple of months ago, and then I have a goal by the end of the year to run a marathon under a certain time. And my friend is under 4 hours.
Woo!
Yeah, it should be doable, hopefully. I feel like training for it. So.
You got it. It's doable. I mean, it's not, significant like a winner kind of thing. You're not going to be 2:15 or something, but it's improved. I mean, it's something to be proud of. A 4-hour marathon. Big deal.
Yeah, that's like a goal that I'm shooting for, and it means training and doing all these different things in between that's going to result in me being healthier. And I don't know, if I lose by 3 minutes or whatever, it's that's too bad. I am healthier and a better person because of it, right? It's not necessarily about the end goal, it's about the journey. Just being aware of that. So.
Well, you laughed at everybody that's sitting on the couch.
But I can understand how those goals might seem pretty far off. Some of my friends, what he does, which is really interesting, he just assigns points to good habits, and he tries to build up points and reward himself. So he said something that I thought was pretty profound when we were having lunch the other day. He said he got overweight because he made a series of small bad decisions. It's not like you make one bad decision and all of a sudden you're unhealthy. It's a bunch of little things. In order to get healthy, it's reversing that trend, and it's not one big decision. It's not deciding, okay, now I'm going to do this. It's every single time you make a choice about what you eat, or about working out, or about taking a rest day, or something about caring for yourself, going to the doctor to get a physical. Those are all little steps and little choices you have to make every single day. So for him, he identified a handful of things. So his neighbor in his office has a candy bowl on her desk, and for each day he doesn't take candy from the candy bowl, he gives himself a point. And each day that he eats a healthy lunch under a certain amount of calories, he just gives himself a point. And he doesn't necessarily worry about all the calories in the day. He's just trying to build a habit of good points. And his goal is to, when he hits 500 points, do something nice for himself. Not go crazy with a big dinner, but maybe it's just a massage, or treating himself to something that he wants, shopping wise, right? Buying himself a nice watch. And then at that point, you will have a bunch of nice habits, and you can say, okay, I'm going to start over, and I'm going to pick different habits that are maybe a little harder to achieve this time. And it's not necessarily a big shift in his schedule or anything like that. It's just little bitty things, and he already looks like he's doing well. I mean, it's going to be a long journey, and it always is. Yeah, but it's
500 days and no candy.
Oof.
Or like a healthy lunch and candy
Yeah,
check.
no soda.
$2.50.
It's one of the things.
Oh, that's, yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
an
California,
benefit
it's
of-
not, really.